Quiet peacefulness and relaxing solitude. This new extract by Amouage hits on all fronts. Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances, and this is a practical review of Amouage Purpose 50. These reviews are for fragrances that I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears in many situations, and I'm meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, I do a lot of research before buying fragrances, but I don't really like to go into details about notes and accords because I don't think that they help the end user. I'd rather talk about the wear experience as a whole. You guys know that I absolutely love Amouage, and you knew perfectly well that I would end up covering this. I'm always very excited when Amouage launches a new product. I've been hearing rumors of Purpose 50 for a good while. I would say about mid-November, maybe late November. And when I published my Amouage ranking video mid-December of 2024, some of you guys were asking where Purpose was because in my review I manifested a lot of enthusiasm towards that scent. So it made sense that I would rank it pretty high up there. But as I already responded in the comments for that video, and I also mentioned in Frag Talk episode 4, I ended up getting rid of my bottle of Purpose because it was a little bit messed up. I am very OCD when it comes to Amouage. I like my bottles to be absolutely pristine. I like them to all have the box, full presentation. I don't know what it is, but the brand really speaks to me. I really want to have everything in perfectly good order. I'm so OCD about the brand that I'm even triggered by the differences in font between the old bottles and the new ones. I really try to get all my bottles with the new font, despite being maybe the newest reformulation and maybe to the detriment of the scent. I'm that bad about it. Some scents, like Brackenman, which are discontinued, I just have to cope with the old bottle design, with the old font. It's really hard. I know it sounds absolutely childish and insane, and I do acknowledge that it's very much a first world problem, but I can't really do anything about it. That's just how I am. And ever since I got rid of my bottle of Purpose, I was missing the scent. I was missing having that in my collection because that was pretty much my reference vetiver scent. And I'm not even a huge fan of vetiver, but the way Purpose portrayed that very beautiful, dusty, moldy, dry, sacred environment was very evocative to me, and I really missed that feeling of being so relaxed, so at peace. And I even contemplated buying Purpose again in the proper presentation, with the full presentation at that, and a pristine bottle. But then again, I started hearing rumors about Purpose 50, so I decided to wait it out. And boy, I am happy I did that. Purpose 50 is a magnificent interpretation and elevation of the original formula. But not only that, it basically fixes all the issues that I had with the original. In my review for that, I said that Purpose was incredibly pungent, very dry, very sharp, very grating, and in a way I was also kind of praising those characteristics because they sort of represented an ode to the Amouage of the past. Those very creative, edgy, and intense scents from the past that would really trigger an emotional response and a thought process. Purpose to me was the proof that Amouage had not lost that spark, had not lost that passion. On the flip side though, all that grating edginess, all that dry, pungent sharpness meant that the wear experience for Purpose was a little bit challenging, a little bit difficult. The scent is super loud, it's super intense, it has immense projection, nuclear longevity. It's just overall a powerhouse in typical Quentin Biche style. In its extract form, this appears to be much smoother, much more round, much more enjoyable, and overall wearable. But it still retains a lot of that character, a lot of that edginess that made Purpose special. Since I first heard them, I was questioning the rumors for Purpose 50, asking myself, why on earth would Amouage release an extract version of a relatively new release such as Purpose? Then I thought about Guidance and Guidance 46, the extract version of that, and that kind of made a little bit more sense because Guidance is apparently one of the best sellers from the brand in the last 10 years, if not ever. But Purpose, I'm not even sure about the popularity of the original scent, so I doubt that this is a business strategy. Overall, I'm very curious about the motive of this extract, but I'm not complaining. This is an absolutely amazing scent. As I mentioned before, after getting rid of my bottle of Purpose, I was really missing that relaxing, peaceful, emotional response that the original Purpose gave me. It really felt like walking into some sort of ancient archive, looking around in this dusty environment, picking up these dusty books, smelling the dusty paper, and just being engulfed in this ancient knowledge, kind of like these ancient relics that were there preserved throughout time. Amouage is always incredibly good with their imagery, they're incredibly good with their narration. As I mentioned in that review, I felt that Purpose was the perfect name for that fragrance. Being in this imaginary library, being in this imaginary center of knowledge, staring down this mountain of dusty books, felt like being in front of like the purpose of humanity, the wide range of knowledge, the scientific research that really pushes humanity forward, giving it in fact purpose. I'm happy to say that this new scent not only retains that beautiful imagery that I'm so passionate about, but thanks to the added smoothness, everything is even more relaxed, more peaceful, more sacred, and just more ominous. Absolutely gorgeous stuff. But we're going to talk about the scent profile after we cover the presentation. When it comes to presentation, Amouage products are predictably top tier. Everything feels incredibly luxurious, incredibly cared for, and incredibly thought out. The exceptional extracts, which Purpose 50 is part of, elevates that even further. There's something that really upsets me. There's something that really triggers my OCD, and it's the lack of the little metal here for Purpose 50. Why, Amouage? Why do you have to trigger my OCD? Why do you have to make these minute changes? And the funny thing is that while I was waiting for my first extract to arrive, I think that was Reflection 45, I was already imagining taking the little plaque off, setting it into the box to have a more clean look. My idea being that by removing the little plaque thing, the little collar thing, I would be able to homogenize the look of the bottles a little bit more. Yes, I'm like that. But to my surprise, when the bottle actually arrived, I found out that it was glued on. So I just had to suck it up. I just had to suck up the difference. And now you're telling me that we're changing the presentation again? Why? Other than that, the presentation overall is absolutely amazing. The cap is solid, it's magnetic, it's metal, it feels beautiful, it's lacquered. I really like the white caps. They feel exceptionally well made. They snap into place, they always orient, absolutely amazing. The sprayers for the Amouage bottles are good but not great. You could say that considering that this is a 50% oil concentration, the sprayer is actually not that bad. Let's give it a couple sprays. Interestingly, this fragrance does not come across as oily as something like Interlude 53. Yes, it might be 50% concentration, but it feels lighter. It wears lighter, and overall it feels less oily, less heavy. Maybe it's because part of the concentrate is like synthetics, maybe like Akigala wood, which is a little bit lighter, not as oily. That being said, performance and longevity are absolutely deserving of the extract denomination. The thing is basically eternal. Continuing with the presentation, the bottle is absolutely gorgeous. The glass is pristine with no visible seams. I really like the look of these exceptional extracts with their painted innards. The only issue that I have with this bottle is that you really can't see the liquid content throughout the paint as most other Amouage bottles allow to do. That's very, very unique to Amouage. Again, the bottle's absolutely gorgeous. You have this beautiful gradient from a dark green to a transparent. Really, really cool. I really dig the look of this. Again, except for that plaque. The excellent presentation of Amouage extends to the boxes. They're all very beautiful with unique art, really complementing the scent profiles. The boxes feel luxurious, they feel solid, but at the same time, they also feel modern, very recyclable, and very environment friendly. When talking price, there's no real way to put it softly. Amouage is an expensive brand. The exceptional extracts elevate that even further. These are very, very expensive products. European retail price for this collection is an eye-watering 490 euros. Yes, very, very expensive. Over $500. Do I think that they're worth it? It really depends on you. I personally like Amouage. I do feel that the brand lives up to the price. I do feel that you kind of get what you're paying for. Overall though, it really depends on your finances. Price is very, very subjective, but what is objective is that Amouage is a luxury brand and they come at a premium. But enough with the presentation, let's talk about the scent profile and wear experience. What does Purpose 50 actually smell like? To put it very simply, Amouage Purpose and Purpose 50 by extension is a very green vetiver and frankincense incense. When you look at the note breakdown on sites like Fragrantica and Profumum, you see a lot of notes. You see weird notes like rose, pimento, you see papyrus, then you see a lot of frankincense. Purpose 50 actually also features vanilla, which is the biggest differentiator between the two versions. But overall, the notes really don't tell the full story of the scent. You really can't imagine the scent by just looking at the notes. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of smelling the scents and just taking the notes with a grain of salt. As I said, Purpose 50 appears to be a frankincense and vetiver fragrance first and foremost, but that is barely scratching the surface. To really better understand what Purpose and Purpose 50 smell like, you have to go to that imagery. You have to go to that evocative imagery that Amouage is so good at conveying. And just to repeat myself once again, Purpose smells like an ancient library, like an ancient place of knowledge. Purpose 50, I said that it elevates that relaxing factor, that peacefulness to the next level. And when I smell the scent and I close my eyes, I get this beautiful vivid image of walking through this ancient church or library. Everything is covered with dust. and everything is bathed with this beautiful golden light coming through the windows. I see these beautiful defined rays of light that really cut through the darkness. The definition of the rays of light is given by the suspended dust in the air. Everything smells static, peaceful, abandoned but preserved. Very, very unique smelling. And when talking about the original purpose, I was really highlighting this very sharp, pungent, almost moldy type of smell. Very, very green. The type of mold that when you touch it with your finger, it leaves a dried, powdered residue on your finger. This one also has it, but it's not as sharp, not as moldy, not as pungent in a way. This is much more smooth. As I said, the extract version really sands down all those rough edges and covers everything in this beautiful blanket of sandalwood, very creamy, soft vanilla, very, very subtle. The vanilla in here really comes into play mostly in the dry down. This is an incredibly smooth, slow transitioning scent, very, very slow evolving. Typical of the Amouage extracts. They're all incredibly glacial scents and evolution, super, super stable, very, very long lasting. It just takes hours to get to the complete dry down. When wearing this, while testing this, I was basically asking myself, when is the dry down for this? When is it coming? And basically the full dry down comes maybe 5 hours later, 5 to 6 hours later. The scent, as I said, is incredibly long lasting with a beautiful wear curve. But again, it transitions very, very slowly. And it's in the deepest of dry downs where that vanilla really shows its head, really shows you that it's been acting all along just to smooth everything out, just to blanket everything in this beautiful, rounded off sort of scent profile. Despite the scent coming across as incredibly rich and very, very stable, the fragrance actually shows remarkable tone range. It has very bright highs due to those moldy, pungent, sharp notes, but it also has very deep lows with the subtle vanillas, heavy frankincense, and very, very creamy sandalwood. Going back to the scent profile, I really want to highlight something quite interesting. A lot of people on Profumum and Fragrantica seem to agree that this kind of smells like Guidance or Guidance 46. Also, that this kind of smells like Ganymede. All of these fragrances are actually by Quentin Biche, and although the Quentin Biche DNA, his style, his hand is very, very clear in purpose, I do not feel that this smells anything like those fragrances. Yes, it has a little bit of the Guidance DNA because of the frankincense, because of the Akigala wood. Yes, it has a little bit of Ganymede just because it comes across as very sharp and metallic, a little bit synthetic, but not in a bad way. But it doesn't smell exactly like those. And I do feel that the superstar Quentin Biche is actually one of the more recognizable perfumers out there. He has a very specific way of creating very powerful, very, very long-lasting fragrances. And again, going back to the notes, as much as I absolutely love incense and as much as I respect vetiver, I wouldn't necessarily recommend the scent to a user which is seeking either of those two things. This scent comes across as bigger than the sum of its parts. It's very, very evocative, very imaginative, and you really have to embrace the vision and you really have to embrace the narrative that the scent gives you to fully appreciate and to fully wear it. And this leads us to the practicalities for Purpose 50, starting off with performance. As I said, the longevity for Purpose 50 is absolutely insane. We're talking 12 plus hours of wear. The projection is also very, very good. It's not as loud as Purpose, but it's very, very apparent, very, very present, specifically because the scent comes across as sharp, it's pungent, it never really blends in with the skin chemistry, and it's always detectable even in the deepest of dry down. Also, the scent evaporates and transitions so slowly that there's barely any difference between the very first opening and the deepest of dry downs in terms of projection. Very, very beautiful wear experience, incredibly well tailored scent curve. When it comes to actual versatility in use cases, Purpose 50 is a little bit of a mixed bag. As I said before, to really enjoy this, you have to fully embrace the narrative, you have to fully embrace the imagery that the scent conveys. It's pretty much inescapable. If you do that, this could be actually a very, very good signature scent because it sits so well in the tone range. It's so functional, so adapted to all seasons and situations that you could probably wear this anytime in any situation. I would not necessarily wear this to the gym just because it's very, very relaxing, very meditative, very peaceful. And the gym is an environment full of energy, full of aggression. It doesn't really suit the scent profile. But other than that, be my guest. Office wear, casual wear, elegant wear, evening wear, it pretty much suits all situations. It comes across as very elegant, but also kind of laid back. It's a little bit abstract. it can really be adapted to many situations. And given the extreme longevity and persistence of the scent, this is actually a necessity. You really can't change up scents. Everywhere is a massive commitment. If you wear this in the morning, you will carry it down to the evening. So be ready to make it work for multiple situations. When it comes to demographics, this comes across as unisex because it's very abstract, but the very dry, pungent, sharp notes make it a little bit more masculine than feminine. It does, after all, very prominently feature vetiver that is not necessarily considered a very feminine note. When it comes to age, this is a little bit more mature. It requires a little bit more experience. You have to be put together. You have to have a solid presence. Otherwise, this is a challenging scent that might end up wearing you. I would not necessarily recommend it for a more youthful audience unless you have experience with niche perfumery, unless you have experience with more artistic perfumery. When it comes to imagery and narration, Amouage is for the most part exceptional. Purpose 50, as I said, is incredibly evocative. It's not necessarily storytelling because there's no real sequence of events. It just conveys this incredible, peaceful sort of atmosphere, very sacred, very spiritual in a way. I absolutely love wearing this. It brings me to such a serene state of mind, really good for focused work or even just for pure relaxation. This is a terrific day ender. And as I said before, the longevity is insane. So if you start your day with this, you're gonna end the day with this. So take it as you wish. All right, we're at the part of the video where I give you some options for my reviewed fragrance. In the case of Purpose 50, I really wanted to lean into that peaceful, relaxing, meditative, spiritual, and sacred sort of feeling. The first fragrance that I want to showcase is Jovoy or Jovoy, La Liturgie de Heures. This is an incense fragrance, a very beautiful, relaxing incense fragrance at that. We're gonna see incense a lot just because it's so relaxing, so meditative, but this one here is actually quite special. It smells fresh. It has a very beautiful, outdoorsy cypress note. Last time I featured this, I talked about this giving me images of this lonely chapel on a hill with the wind gently rocking the trees and creating these beautiful waves in the grass. Everything is serene, peaceful, very beautiful, not let down, not abandoned, very well kept for. But it has this aura of solitude, of peacefulness. You're walking this path to this beautiful little chapel, you're smelling the trees, you're smelling the vegetation, you're smelling the wind, spring is in the air, the sky is blue, you have some clouds, really beautiful, relaxing atmosphere, kind of like an exploratory, lazy Sunday. Not necessarily religious, there's no religious part to it. Maybe you're going to see a cemetery, maybe you're going to tend to the tomb of a loved one. But it's very serene. Everything is just peaceful. Absolutely gorgeous, a masterpiece. It almost brings a tear to my eye. This is a beautiful fragrance by Jovoy. It's just so evocative, so peaceful. I love wearing this. It has nowhere near the performance of the longevity, such as Purpose 50, but it's fleeting in the best possible way. I really recommend you get a sample of this and try it out. My second fragrance option, I also already talked about. This one here is Profumum Roma's Arso. There's no church, there's no incense, there's no spirituality, but there's still a lot of relaxation and peacefulness. This one depicts an image of a beautiful, warm countryside Italian pine forest. There's a lot of resins, there's a lot of humidity. This is a very rich, woody scent in the best possible way. Profumum Roma are masters at creating almost smells rather than fragrances. This is very linear, very simple in execution, but it's so direct and it hits so close to home to me specifically because this really represents in my mind the pine forest outside of Rome. And Rome, as I mentioned many times, is not an alpine environment whatsoever. There's very little cold even in winter, but this one specifically comes across as that pine forest between Rome and the sea, which is depicted in the summer. You hear the cicadas, you hear the heat. This is the end of the day. The ground, the vegetation, the rocks, everything is cooling down from the heat of the day. Everything is just winding down in this beautiful aura of peacefulness. This really brings me to that place. It's incredibly evocative. I've been to that pine forest many times and it smells exactly like that. It's weird because a lot of people online talk about this smelling like an alpine forest with snow, a campfire, very cozy, sort of like lodge environments. I don't get that at all. This is a very humid, very radiant sort of scent. I love wearing this and the longevity for this is actually absolutely amazing, but the projection is very subtle, very intimate, very polite. I highly recommend the House of Profumum Roma. They make such amazing, simple, direct scents. You really can't fault them for that. My last fragrance option, as per somewhat of a tradition, is my usual oddball. In this case, is Labsolu Ambra Grigia. I already talked about this brand. It's something that I discovered in Essence. It's a very simple, traditional Italian brand that really focuses on fragrance based on one note. This is Ambra Grigia, aka Amber Gris. It's a very simple, very straight to the point Amber Gris fragrance, which is beautiful. It's clean, it's delicate. It's not that long lasting, but overall, it's such a beautiful refresher between heavier fragrances. It's an incredibly relaxing wear experience. Amber Gris is actually one of my favorite notes in perfumery ever. It has this effortless type of cleanliness. It's so natural. It's so, I don't know, there's something about it which is very, very prestigious about it, very luxurious, and I can totally see how in the past people would just freak out about the ingredient. It's that good, it's that addicting. I absolutely love wearing this. It's so gently soft, so timidly polite. It's also actually quite mass appealing despite its relatively animalic nature, just because it comes across as so delicate and so refined. Once again, beautiful stuff. If you're into one note fragrances, such as the stuff that Berry Montecarlo offers, such as the stuff that Matière Première offers, or even Profumum Roma to an extent, Labsolu is definitely a brand to consider, definitely a brand to explore. As I said, these are very traditional, delicate fragrances. Do not go in here expecting beast mode fragrances that last forever. It's just not the case. These are timid, they're very fleeting, but they're also incredibly beautiful. But back to Purpose 50 for my final recommendations and overview. The House of Amouage holds a very special place in my heart. They're basically the fragrance brand that really introduced me to the beautiful art of niche perfumery, that really showcased luxury, artistry, and just imagination in perfumery. I will never forget my first experiences with Amouage, smelling Interlude Woman, Enclave, even Purpose. These are all mind-blowing experiences, especially for a novice coming from the more designer realm. Amouage is a beautiful brand with deep tradition and history, a very consistent and incredibly well-established brand identity, and you know I'm a fan of that. Yes, there have been changes over time, especially under the new creative direction of Renaud Salmon, but overall, I do feel that Amouage has maintained their identity and their path forward, and I will be continuing enjoying their fragrances as long as they're good, and Purpose 50 is exactly one of those. Was it necessary? Was it necessary to bring out an extracted version of Purpose? I can't answer that. I don't know the background. I don't know why they did it. Again, Purpose is a little bit of a misunderstood fragrance in general, but Purpose 50 is a much more likable, wearable version of that scent profile that, in my opinion, needed a little bit more time in the sun, a little bit more time in the spotlight. So I'm super happy they brought this out. I'm super happy to own this. Even in a very selfish manner, this to me replaces Purpose in the best possible way. I plan to wear this a lot in the future and to keep this for a very, very long time. My final recommendations for Purpose 50, especially considering the luxurious price tag, are a strong sample first. This can come across as an incredibly polarizing scent profile. You really have to try it out to see if this is for you. If it is, you might embrace it as a signature scent. It's absolutely amazing. If it's not, so be it. There's so many other options out there, not necessarily for a vetiver incense fragrance, but more so for the relaxing, very meditative, very spiritual sort of scent profile. Even within Amouage, there's so many offerings. They're the masters of incense. Overall, I really do recommend sampling this because it's really amazing in my opinion. Go for the official samples. They're so good and so well priced actually. Get yourself a discovery set for the exceptional extracts. I'm not sure if they added this one in already, but overall, those are some of the most amazing scents that I've ever tried. They're some of the best scents in my collection. If you like this type of content, if you like my approach to video, feel free to subscribe. It's always massively appreciated and it helps the channel. If you want to interact with me, leave a comment, suggestion, opinion, or anything else down below. I always reply and I always keep the conversation open. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your time. Many more videos to come as per usual. See you in the next one and cheers.